Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here and live with another Cardano live stream, and delighted to sit down with a guest today that I've been watching since I would say late 2017, early 2018, and it's the first time we've got on a call together. So delighted to have Jason Crypto Crow. I'm sure nobody watching here needs an introduction. Jason, very welcome on the channel, and thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I've been seeing you pop up all over the place for a while. So yeah, it's about time we have a chat and kind of go over. I just watched it. It's funny because I literally just watched a video this morning where you're covering all kinds of stuff on Twitter about Cardano and I don't know. I love when I see people that have a really good passion, a really solid interest, and not just like about number go up, but like about what's coming and what's being built and what's happening. So yeah, man, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, look, it's great. And anyone coming in, please do let us know. Actually, first, audio is coming through okay? Can you hear us both? And let us know where you're coming in from. I think this kind of time we should get Europe, US, lots of different people. And if you have questions or topics you want to see us discuss, throw them in the comments down below as well. This, like any other live stream I do, is more a general conversation. I have questions I want to ask Jason here, but as well as that, I always find we can get questions from the community. It's always a better stream, and the more people we have in, the better it is too. So do share it out and give it a like. I'm going to kick it off with what's your thoughts on crypto as it is right now? Generally, cycles are kind of out the window in terms of what happened. Well, not fully out, but in terms of previous ones looking at highs and things like that. What's your thoughts on the overall market now?
Quite honestly, I'm very bullish about everything going on in the market right now. So I just did a video that I'll publish at 3 that kind of shares a lot of that in detail. But ultimately, I think everything that's happening right now, it's kind of what typically would be happening, but with a lot of ETF support, kind of pushing things to new highs a bit early, a lot of transition out of different funds and into others. And there's just a lot going on. And I think the activity as a whole is just kind of laying the groundwork for things. You're going to probably hear some of my Telegram dinging. Sorry about that. So yeah, I mean, I'm super bullish on everything going on. This will be the first bull market where I actually have fairly significant investment in play before the halving. And so, I mean, in 2017, I got in and I started my YouTube channel in November, and it's just like everything just went crazy. So I thought I was an absolute genius because everything I did just went to pure gold overnight. But I was still very uncertain because I knew I didn't know enough, right? And so then we move into the 2021 market, and then it's like, okay, I had a little bit more going, but still not much. And now this market's a totally different animal altogether. And then here we are with all these ETFs, and Cardano's finally at a place where it's like functional and it has everything it said it was going to have for the most part. The Voltaire and all of that's going to continue, changing and things. But yeah, I mean, I feel really good about it. At this point, I feel like it's kind of a waiting game. We have, and as I watch a lot of the different projects, I'm definitely a lot more risk averse in the crypto space. I'm a lot more cautious now because I've seen now 2 cycles. I've seen, kind of what it looks like when you've got 1 million projects trying to capitalize on the FOMO of newcomers and how that ultimately ends up the majority of the time. And so while I don't think Cardano is necessarily going to go to $100 or anything, I do believe that it's much more risk averse in the sense that it's been proven itself since 2017, hitting a lot of these milestones and just doing what they've set out to do in the way they've set out to do it, as opposed to a lot of these other projects that I feel just, they throw out a white paper and a bunch of promises and they expect you to dump all your money into them like we did back in the day when you just throw a couple of Ethereum at a wallet address and then get a bunch of tokens that go 100x overnight. That's not the way things are anymore, and I think it's one of the reasons why meme tokens right now have been doing so well, because it's ultimately what people are doing with meme tokens, but even that's a crapshoot. So there's so much to it, but overall there's so much activity and there's so many people doing well and having a good time, and I think it's a really, really good time to be in crypto.
Yeah, it's different getting flashbacks there of when you're talking about the ICOs and throwing Ethereum and stuff, and those were crazy days. They're kind of reminiscent of what's happening with meme coins right now, I suppose, in that people are just throwing money at pre-sales. They don't really care. And it was a bit like that back in 2017, even 2018 a bit, was just anyone thought of any industry and put blockchain at the end of it. And it was like, there's your project already, and raising crazy kinds of money. But do you think this cycle will be different for, I suppose, altcoins, and the way normally the flow, the way we see it is Bitcoin gets the money first, Bitcoin will run, and then you see it start to flow down. It goes to Ethereum, other layer ones, and starts to work its way down. But with ETFs this time, do you think it's different that more of the funds will stay with Bitcoin rather than all flowing downhill like we've seen in other cycles?
Well, obviously the ETFs are going to change things quite a bit, in the sense that I feel that they're going to pump up Bitcoin substantially. And ultimately, I think we're also going to end up with, Ethereum ETFs. I wouldn't be shocked to see a Cardano ETF and some others, right? And those ETFs are going to enter the market, and they're probably going to stay. Like a lot of the people that are entering these ETFs are basically getting into them with retirement accounts. A lot of people are likely going to transition 401k money, that sort of thing. And so they're looking at it as a long play. They're going to be in the market for years, not like a cycle. And so I think what they're going to ultimately do is pump the price of everybody else's assets. And, as they pump Bitcoin, people that are holding Bitcoin are going to take a lot of that profit and then trade it into the altcoin market for that next level of gains that the people in the ETFs are probably not going to do unless there's a vehicle for it, right? And a lot of the people that are entering these ETFs, they just know Bitcoin number go up, for the most part. They know what it is. They kind of, if you talk to a lot of people now, 3 years ago, all anybody knew about Bitcoin was it was that digital thing that crashed 80%, and it was probably a scam. That was what we heard all the time. And I think this time people are starting to understand that this is a cyclical thing. It's a very new thing. It's still in its infancy, but the institutions are getting into it. There's a lot more kind of discussion as to regulation and who's doing what. And so people are recognizing it as a legitimate asset now, as opposed to just some digital scam token that a lot of nerds used to play with back in the day, right? Couldn't you buy weed with that back in the 2011 or 2012, stuff like that. So that old history is starting to go away, and the new history of, I think I saw that guy from BlackRock talk about tokenizing real estate and tokenizing the stock market and how Bitcoin's going to be XYZ, and they launched some fund or something, but I don't really know much else. I just saw that on the news, Yeah. So there's going to be a big transition. And I think by 2030, we're going to see a lot of that transition happen. And I think right now the institutions are laying the groundwork for all of these high market cap, layer one blockchains that are basically going to become the foundation for the tokenization of everything else. And then 2030 is going to be when that transition happens, right? So back in the old market, I would say, we're laying the foundation for the future of the disruption of everything, right? Just by us getting involved as retail market investors. And, that is changing now to the institutions getting in, helping all of us early adopters establish our wealth and our independence. And then, but it's still going to be a small number of us, right? So very few of us are going to actually capitalize on what's happening in these markets. And typically it takes 2 cycles for people to really learn and understand it. So the first cycle is when they typically get in and they just kind of watch all their money go away, right? Because they don't know when to get out. They don't know to get out. They don't know a lot of that. And then the next cycle is when they like, I got to get out at the top. That's when you make the money, because it doesn't matter if number go up. If the asset crashes overnight by 80%, and you're left with that's the process that it takes everybody to learn. So we're still very much on our infancy. But a lot of that stuff is going to change here. And I think it's all a matter of what happens between now and 2030, ultimately.
Yeah, I think what people who might only be coming in now need to look at is it is a longer term game that anybody who asks me, should I buy a coin now? And it's like, no matter if it has dropped 50% or gone up by 50% the day before, I would always tell them, what's your timeline? Are you looking at longer term? If you're not looking at longer term, then I'd be very wary of it. And DCA is what I always tell people, both in and out of the market, because you're never going to time the top. You're never going to time the bottom. And for me personally, I have some of my portfolio that you're talking about 20, 30 there. For me, I've some that just sits there on hardware wallet, and I'm not going to look at it until after 2030. And I'll see where it is, not in this cycle, in the next cycle, because yes, I could try and time the top now and sell it off. And it sounds easy, but it's a lot harder to do than people think it is. And just when we're talking about ETFs, I would love to have seen some of the people who got into ETFs there recently when Bitcoin had 10% drop in 24 hours, where people who got in might have been used to maybe a 7-8% move in a year, and then they're seeing something like a 10%. Will that volatility, do you think we'll keep seeing that type of volatility in the crypto market, or
not
will
in
that
Bitcoin
change as we...
No, I don't think we're going to see that kind of volatility in Bitcoin. And I say often, and I've been saying this now for at least a couple of years, that this is likely going to be the market cycle where Bitcoin kind of, rather than go to an 80% dump, it will dump. It will go down because the retail market is still going to control a big part of it. But I don't think we're going to see any more of these big 80% dumps. And as the retail market is trying to time the top, those of us who've been here multiple cycles, that is when the big institutions are going to gobble that up like hungry hippos. And then it's going to slow down that dump. And ultimately it's going to go sideways consolidation through a bear market. And I think ultimately it's going to be the altcoins that don't have ETFs. Those are going to be the assets, I think, that really, that we get those 80% drops and things like that. And I think we're going to transition out of like Bitcoin, kind of pegging the market and everything being pegged to Bitcoin, dropping with Bitcoin. I think that's when the altcoins are really going to start having a mind of their own based off of the merit of their use case, their adoption, their on-chain metrics. That's when things are going to get really important. And I think that is when we're going to start seeing Cardano really, really shine above the majority of everything else in the market, because the way they're building everything, what they're doing, people are complaining now because, oh, well, it takes longer for Cardano to do anything. It takes longer for Cardano to tie its shoes. And look at these other, layer one blockchains, and they're fast, and they throw all this shit to the wall and see what sticks, right? And it's like they're first. And I think when you're talking about building the foundation from which everything else is going to grow and build from, I don't think it's going to be a matter of being first. I think it's going to be a matter of being right. And I think that is when Cardano's real application is going to shine. Right now, it's still all based on number go up. It's all based on speculation. It's a bunch of newcomers entering a space they don't understand, they don't know much about. They just see number go up. That's why the meme coins are going so well, because you don't have to think. You don't have to understand the technology of these meme coins. All you have to understand is how much marketing is going into this pet rock. What's the FOMO? What's the community look like? Is it fun? Do I think it's going to go up from where it's at? I don't have to think beyond that. I can do that with anything. I can buy literally anything and kind of gauge whether or not it's going to be a number go up scenario. But when you look at the actual use case, and what these applications, what these layer ones are being built for, and why, that's when the real money is going to come in, because those are going to be the people that actually think, they put in the time, they understand the technologies behind it, why X means what, and why this does another thing. So yeah, I don't think that we're going to see the markets act in the exact same way we're used to seeing them. We're already seeing variations of that. Bitcoin hitting an all-time high before the halving. That's a tell sign of, things are changing, So, yeah, I think it's going to get very, very interesting. And I think it's going to become a matter of those that are educated are going to do really well. And those that aren't, and they're just playing the meme coin slot machine all the time, I think a lot of those people are going to get kicked in the teeth in ways they're not really used to, and they're going to learn, you know, what is the value of fundamentals, what is the value of the technology driving this stuff, and what isn't the value of a lot of these meme tokens that are being FOMO'd in like ICOs were, you know, before, you know, number go down and significantly overnight and catches people off guard.
Yeah, I think, like you said there, it takes people time to learn. This will be my third cycle as well. 2017, I was buying whatever was the next coin that was going to hit 100x or was going to do whatever. And whatever ones people were talking about, that's what I was buying back then. And I learned lots of my lessons then. And it was kind of throughout 2018, 2019, when I started to look at what I'd accumulated, I started to go back heavily into ADA and Bitcoin at that stage. And they were the ones that I started to, I'd say your channel probably had an influence in that as well, because I was watching then and you started to go deeper, I think, into Cardano at that stage too. And it kind of, the more I looked into it, the more I liked the solid base. I know we're not as far along as some would like us to be, especially on scaling and things like that. There's things we do well, things that hopefully governance can really push along a lot quicker, but it does take time to learn. And that's what I say to people. Make sure you look at your timelines when you're getting involved, split up your portfolio, have some of your degen stuff. It's fine to do degen stuff, but have that as a smaller play in your portfolio, because you might get 3 wins where you get crazy returns. And then if you keep that same money there, one of them is going to burn you and you're going to lose it all. So keep your portfolio partitioned off in different percentages. Once you go up, rebalance. So if the degen one is doing really well and going up, make sure you take some of that out. You can always put it back in later if you do get burned and need to. But these things take time. Another, I suppose, really big narrative is AI and crypto. Can crypto projects really, this is Paddy Shamrock Pool, compete with ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude? Are they all cash grabs? Or when OpenAI brings out something new, we've seen with Sora there when they brought out the video, which is absolutely crazy what they can do now with AI. As soon as things like that come out, all AI projects just pump. Mm-hmm. Is there real tech behind the crypto ones, do you think? Or what's your thoughts on crypto and AI?
So I use this kind of analogy a lot of history, right? Back in the days of the gold rush, who made all the money? It wasn't the gold miners. It was the people selling the tools to mine gold, right?
Yeah.
And so when I see stuff like this, it's like, you know, back in the day, you know, you would see blockchain ketchup, right? You remember when the company got sued, I think it was by the SEC or whoever, because they added blockchain to the name of their ketchup company, because that was what was being sucked up by all the search engines and everything. And you could put blockchain and attach the word blockchain to anything and it would go up. Mm-hmm. So I see a lot of that happening in AI now, because everybody knows that AI is basically where we're at. This is AI is to the information age that crypto is the finance in many regards. But you see a lot of companies trying to capitalize on that term AI, be like AI ketchup now instead of blockchain ketchup. So yes, I think that there is some, you know, like Iagon, right? I think Iagon is going to be a really good project. And I think that they're going to continue building. And I think that there are projects out there that are going to help facilitate the AI market, whether it's through decentralized file storage or, you know, like a lot of the different kind of tools that will be used for AI as it is mining, if that makes sense, right? It's going to be the people and the projects that facilitate new decentralized ways to implement the pickaxe, you know, to facilitate the different tools to allow you to achieve a certain goal with AI. But I see a lot of gimmicky shit in the AI market right now that are just looking to capitalize on that terminology. And that's it. And, you know, there are going to be some AI projects that do well. And with a lot of these open source models, it's going to empower companies to basically take these LLMs and continue adding to them. You know, I think that storing the training methodology behind training some of these LLMs to become bigger, broader, smarter, storing those in like decentralized ways, that I think is going to be play a big deal. And listen, there are already, you know, group like the IRS, different elements of the government. They're already utilizing AI, whether we know it or not, for a lot of different things, right? The AI is obviously going to control the majority of what's happening in cyberspace, you know, and while that to me is sort of scary, I think that there are going to be a lot of new technologies related to that. And you know, hopefully some of it is decentralized and focused on the public, as opposed to, you know, the controllers of it, if that makes sense. And that's ultimately what I would like to see. But right now, it's like the ICOs in 2017, man. It's like we're going to see so many different quote unquote AI projects, and all they're doing is creating a different interface that taps into like Chat GPT in a more specified use case. Even my own, I have my own AI project, Eternalized, right? And that is, it's kind of a different breed altogether, but ultimately that utilizes Chat GPT and other, you know, elements of AI to create these living models, right? That are based off of different YouTubers and things like Cryptos R Us, obviously me, Crypto Wendy. There's a bunch of us on there. And basically we created these language models using the transcripts of YouTubers. Okay, so we go and we scrape all of their transcripts of all of their video content so that everything that these models say are things that they've actually said, that it is actually them. We're not adding to it necessarily. And even though that is like a specific use case and we've been able to channel it and run that stuff together with synthesized voice, with animated, you know, lip syncing video and things like that, that's very high quality, it's also very expensive. But ultimately, the idea of that platform is to enable people like you and anyone else that wants. We haven't got there yet. We put that on hold because we're building a game, and then we're going to go back to Eternalized. So I haven't been pumping it all over the place, but this game is going to be badass, and it's really worth the pause. Obviously, that's going to be on Cardano as well. I won't even say what that is yet, but it's going to be sick. So, you know, we're building all of these things and we want to empower people to create their own language models based off of what they input to the machine. And so that is a cool use case, but it's not necessarily anything that we're developing internally as its own system. It's still utilizing Chat GPT. So I could come out with a token and I could say, look at Eternalized, we got our own token, we're going to lead the whatever, but really we're just tapping into systems that are already in place. We're not reinventing any wheels. We're not really expanding on the functionality of anything. We're just using a small fragment of the power being presented by these large models that are out there. And I think that's the majority of what a lot of what we see is. It's just, you know, it's a screw to the bigger machine, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you could, if you put a token on it, you could make millions tomorrow in a pre-sale. People are just, if they see hype narratives, they're willing just to throw money at it. And it's high risk, high reward, but you could end up with nothing for people investing into these types of things. You could make a huge amount of money. If you get in before these things really run, then you can make a fortune on them. But when they're that volatile, you also have the chance that you could wake up someday and it's down 30% or it's down 40% or so. It's a tough one. And I agree that it is 2017 kind of vibes, and that instead of putting the word blockchain at the end of something, it's just put the word AI, and then that's a whole new narrative. So I'm looking through, trying to make sure that I answer questions. If you guys have questions, I still have more that I want to ask. I'm going to dive deeper into Cardano and projects and stuff.
I'll try and answer things a little more quickly so you can get through stuff. I can ramble, I know.
No, you're good. Let me see. Okay, I'll go with this one. Do you guys think Cardano could eventually flip Bitcoin in the next 10 to 15 years? I'll be the bad guy and go first and say right now, with the bigger guys coming into Bitcoin first, if it is ever going to flip it, I don't think it's the next 10 to 15 years. I think it would be a longer horizon. I think right now, outside of crypto, when people look at crypto, we're still at the stage where crypto is Bitcoin to most people outside. I think this cycle will help teach people, and I think even deepen being one of the, I think it's going to be one of the bigger narratives this cycle, is that because people can understand it. You look at how can people understand crypto. In the last one we had, I suppose NFTs was a big one. There was pictures on the blockchain. People could see that, okay, well, there's collectibles, and they could understand it. And I think Deepin will be that one this time, where you run something in the real world and you get rewarded with crypto. But in terms of, Jason, what do you think? Can Cardano flip Bitcoin?
Well, I said I was going to answer stuff quickly now, and I don't know if this is possible with this question. You know, because there's two totally different variations to this, right? You've got Bitcoin, which is going to be the store of value for the tokenization of pretty much everything, from the traditional stock market to real estate, you name it, right? If BlackRock has its way, that's what's going to happen. And then you've got Cardano, which is basically building primarily for a lot of enterprise level use cases, which is what throws a lot of newcomers in Cardano, right? They see, you know, JPEG picture of a rock go up, and they see all of this stupid shit all over crypto, and they think that ultimately is what defines the favorability of a blockchain project. How many NFT pictures of JPEGs and rocks and birds and monkeys and shit can we get on a blockchain that number go up? And that's what defines success in the eyes of a lot of newbies. They don't understand the difference between pictures on a blockchain for that early adoption of a blockchain, or meme tokens, right? They see all of this stupid, silly FOMO shit that's all built. It's a bunch of different pet rocks that's hyped and promoted by marketing dollars, right? That makes the number go up until it doesn't go up anymore. They don't understand the tech involved in building for enterprise level solutions on a global scale. That is what Cardano is being built with. That is why Cardano is being built the way it's being built with Haskell. Nobody likes Haskell because it's more challenging. It's more time consuming to build on, but they're building it for the security of all of the enterprises they expect to see on the blockchain over the coming years. And that is a much bigger issue for enterprise level solutions. And it's not necessarily a necessity for a picture of a rock, right? So there's still a lot of education to be had about what Cardano is built to do. Now, once Cardano has reached a point where it's gaining that adoption and it's being utilized for the reasons it's been built, okay, not just kind of towing the line of everything else in the market and trying to play catch up. They're not as worried about playing catch up with the rest of the market, because it's not about NFTs and meme tokens. That's just what the newcomers understand, and that's what they buy into right now. But once the real use cases are starting to come to fruition in Africa and all of these different countries, that they're kind of building all of these training facilities, teaching locals how to code, how to build on the blockchain for this use case and that use, all of that stuff, then you have to take into account the number of nodes that are going to continue growing, further decentralizing the blockchain on a global scale. There's so many different variables. I could go on this for an hour. I'm not going to. But what you have to consider is for all of these nodes that continue popping up, that's more Cardano being pulled out of the ecosystem and setting somewhere. The more people that are staking their ADA to the nodes, that's more being pulled out of the ecosystem and sitting somewhere. And then at that point, the use case and demand for the token that is being lowered in supply on a consistent basis with enterprise adoption the world over is ultimately going to bring those numbers down in the ecosystem in terms of liquidity on exchanges. And the closer we get to Bitcoin, that demand is going to help continue pushing the price of Cardano up, at which point it could, maybe in the not so distant future, start really competing with the market capitalization of Bitcoin with everything else going on. Why? Because you've got first generation technology that's being bought up by the institutions laying the foundational framework for paper investment vehicles, right? But what happens when that same demand is able to happen on a blockchain like Cardano, which is in the third and with midnight, fourth generation of the technology with far more use case? So people think that it's all about the numbers of the tokens in the market, but it's not. Because if the majority of those are locked up somewhere, or they're basically sitting somewhere, and the price of that asset is being dictated by what's happening on the market and the demand of those tokens, that could very quickly start to outweigh Bitcoin. So anything could happen, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen overnight, but I'm going to say between now and the 2030 cycles, if we have cycles the way we see them today, I think we're going to see Cardano really start kicking the shit out of these lesser known, well, this blockchain's really good, number go up, but it just shut down yesterday for the fourth time in the quarter. And, just all of the crap shit that keeps getting thrown together because the venture capitalists are out there pumping the hell out of it with their paid advertisements, trying to compete with the better technology that's out there because and we leave that window available because of how slow it is in the process. Like, how long does it take to prove a scientific theorem? It could take a lifetime for somebody, like Einstein. Like, there was a lot of shit he was working on. He never was able to complete in his lifetime, but it doesn't mean it's not worthwhile. So it's just a matter of, it's a matter of so many things. I'm sure that was a long answer as well, but I don't know how to be short, man.
That question probably wasn't the right question to look for a short answer to anyway, so I'll take some of the responsibility.
Fair enough.
Yeah, very important comment there to say hit the like button. The more people we get in here, the better it is, the more questions. I'm trying to bring up questions in the comments. Let me know. I'm watching the different teams that are coming up in the comments, and then I'll try and bring them up when I see there's a few different people asking about the same thing. One thing that's coming up is Solana and people leaving for Solana, and should they stay with Cardano? Should they go to Solana? And to me, look, I have a channel that's got Cardano in the name. I'm not a maxi. I hold different tokens, different chains. I think everyone should explore, see what's out there, and have, like I said earlier, different parts of your portfolio. But it doesn't have to be Solana or Cardano or Solana or ADA, or you can hold both. You can like both chains for different reasons. I think if you look at what's going on with the Dubai police and what they're trying to do, Cardano right now is a perfect fit for that. It's solid, decentralized. It's not going to go down. They know it's going to be reliable. Where
real
Solana,
quick.
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry, Paul, I see this comment, John Dussin. Cardano gets crapped on all the time, but does nothing to combat the FUD, right? And here's the thing that I would like to say to that. You walk into a bar, okay? And you've got this little 5'5" guy who's got short man syndrome, and he's just trying to pick a fight with everybody. And then you've got, but he doesn't really know how to fight. He's full of bravado and liquor, okay? Full of liquid courage. He's got a lot to say. He's trying to make himself look bigger, meaner, badder than the next guy, but he doesn't really have any merit to that. It's just, that's kind of what he's trying to do. Then you've got the guy in the bar who's sitting there minding his own business. Maybe he's got 15 pro fights under his belt, but he doesn't have to scream it. Maybe he's been training his entire life. He's prepared for whatever comes his way, but he doesn't feel like he has to scream that out to the whole world around him because he's looking for attention or he's trying to compete with this douchebag, right? What do you think happens if those two actually collide in combat? The quiet guy who focuses on what he's supposed to do, building his skill sets, building his mentality, building that inner strength, and building the capabilities of his body is going to murder that motherfucker. Sorry, my French. But my point is, just because Cardano isn't always out there combating the FUD, so to speak, they don't necessarily have to, because if you see that guy in the bar running his mouth and yelling at everybody, and he's just the douchebag in the bar full of liquid courage, you don't have to go knock this dude out to prove that you're better. You just know. And that's the difference. Anybody that's ultimately doing their research and understands what's going on with Cardano, understands. I combat a lot of that FUD because I feel like that's part of my job as a YouTuber in the crypto space. I call a lot of the shit out, but Cardano doesn't have to. That's my point. Even Charles doesn't really have to, even though he tries in the best way possible. I don't even feel like it's his job to combat a lot of that quote unquote FUD. So, you know, the point is just because it doesn't look like Cardano's trying to fight the world, the fight is already over. It's a lot of the people out there that don't realize it yet. So it's just one of those things where you just kind of wait and you let the cards fall where they may, the way they have since 2017. So that's why you don't see a lot of that bullshit. It's just not really necessary. You already know who's superior in the fight. So you just let that brush off your back and stay focused.
Yeah, I don't think you could ever be that small guy in the bar, though. Just referring to your karate combat.
I'm always the guy dealing with the liquid courage guy. That's what I am. I'm the biggest guy in the bar. I have to deal with all these assholes.
Yeah, I don't think people realize you were just as big as you actually are until the karate combat fight, and people seeing you up against the other guy was what, 6'4", was he?
He's 6'4", 6'5", 230, I think. Yeah, I did make him look really small, which was crazy. It even blew my mind, honestly.
How was that experience? Completely outside of crypto.
You know, I didn't like the way I felt knocking him out. Honestly, I don't like hurting anybody. And you know, I'm one of those guys where I'm like nothing but love, and I act really quirky and stuff in person so that people aren't intimidated and they know that I'm just a dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to hurt anybody. I know I've got a lot of tattoos. I can look kind of mean, even though my gray hair ages me. And I like Ramel. I like Moon Daddy. I mean, he's a really, really good dude. He's a cool guy. And, but you know, when it's hard to explain, man. Like, I wasn't really trying to go after him. You know what I mean? Like, I knew that he didn't have any fight experience. I do. You know, I'm not typically like, that whole analogy was kind of like me versus the liquid courage guy in the bar. I run into that all the time. I mind my own business. I'm just kind of chill. I'm having my drink and trying to enjoy my night. And I'm the guy, I'll walk away from a fight, just like Cardano does. If somebody comes up, they're running their mouth, until you put hands on me, I'll walk away. Like, you win, buddy. You're the superstar. But you put hands on me, you're going to take a nap. And that's kind of the difference. And like, when I see this kind of commentary about Cardano, it's not fighting. It doesn't have to fight. It knows it can put these other projects to sleep. It's just too busy making sure that it has the features, the functionality to do so. So, you know, but I mean, as far as the fight, man, I wasn't even trying to knock him out when I did. I was just trying to make a contact. I just didn't know that it was going to be, my hand is still busted from that one punch. And I mean, I hit him twice. I punched him twice. I really thought the first one was going to knock him out, but it didn't. It just kind of sent him back. And, you know, and then I thought for a second I was in an MMA fight. If you watch, I was trying to scoop under his neck. I was going to choke him out, and the ref stopped us. And then we stood up, and I'm like, oh, wait, I can't do that here. And so, you know, the fight would have been over a lot sooner, but we had to add another like 10 seconds to it. But yeah, but I felt kind of bad because he was kind of a deer in headlights in the moment. He was really, really nervous. And, you know, first fight jitters can make, you know, it can shut anybody down. So he handled it really, really well. And he was such a gracious guy in the whole situation. And, you know, thanked me in the back for giving him a clean death. And I thought that was classy, man. Like, you know, some guys that have been all mad and he wasn't. He was just like, you know what, you did what you had to do. And that's the way it was supposed to work out. So that's what happened. And so, yeah, but yeah, I doubt I'm going to do that again. I think I'm done fighting unless I'm really pissed off at someone.
Unless comments get really bad from against Cardano. Well, yeah, I didn't know the guy before, but seen some interviews with him after. He seemed like a good guy, and like you say, he took it really well. The way that he spoke about it after, and the experience of going through it all. Going to go back to crypto for the last maybe 15 minutes or so. I forgot to ask what your time was like, and we'll see what the questions are coming in here. But first off, within the Cardano ecosystem, what projects do you follow closely? And then I'm going to ask you outside of Cardano after that.
I've been following Cornucopias quite a bit. I'm kind of an advisor. I don't know if you call me an advisor. I'm not sure what you call me, but they gave me some tokens a long time ago, and mostly because I hounded them, and I'm like, I want involved in this. I don't care how, just I want to be involved. And it's been I don't know, 2-3 years, however long it's been. I just think that what they're building is just gonna annihilate a lot of these other quote unquote metaverse projects, honestly. When I first started telling everybody about it, it was a penny, and I think it's, you know, more or less local high has been 12 cents, but I can see it getting to $2 between now and the peak of the market. There's a lot of stuff coming. I know some things I can't talk about because that, you know, they trust me not to, but I am privy to, like, I knew about the exchange listings beforehand. I was like, please let me leak it. Let me tell people so they know. And they're like, you can't. And then we had it all scheduled to, like, I was going to come out on Friday, and then I went live and I was going to give some hints. And then lo and behold, the exchanges leaked it already that morning. They're like, you can go ahead and tell people because the exchanges already did. So, and there's more of that coming. But I really like Iagon, IAG. I think that they're basically like they're like Cardano's Filecoin. And there's going to be a lot more demand, especially when it comes to AI, metaverse, all of that stuff. I think Iagon's probably going to play a pretty big role in a lot of that. Obviously, I've liked World Mobile Token since the start. And I know that there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of misunderstanding about World Mobile Token and you know, them kind of building their own chain and running a kind of a multi-chain system, ecosystem and all that. And I watched your video this morning, which you did a really good job of kind of explaining that to people. You know, there are a lot of projects that are out there, but there are still some that, you know, I'm giving them time before I really start diving deep into them and following them, because, you know, the one thing I've learned, man, I'm sure you've learned as well. It's like everybody and anybody can come up with a really good idea, but it's being able to pull off that idea and have it actually stand the test of time and stand through a bear market, still be building, and then come out ahead at the end. That's what I really want to see when it comes to new projects launching on any blockchain anymore. I want to see you get beat down and get back up. I want to see you survive time, survive downfalls. You know, how strong of a project, a company, and a leadership model are you? That's what really means more to me than just like a really cool idea and everybody should send their tokens to it. I'm just not down with that shit anymore, so I don't really bother doing it. But yeah, those are some of my main ones. I'd have to look at my portfolio because I don't even remember. But yeah, I've got a little of a lot, except Cardano, which is like my number one holding.
Nice. Yeah, I think I'm very similar in them projects. The three main ones you touched on there. Kopi, I've held since day one. I've bought different land there. I'm looking forward to the custom domes. I bought some of them when the sale was there. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can actually build in them. There was Call of Duty type game was one of the videos they put out. I'd love to be able to do things like that, or different things within the domes when that comes available. So for me, that's a longer term. World Mobile and Iagon both fit into Deepin, which I think is a really big narrative, and both have real businesses behind them. One thing I really like on World Mobile is they're taking funds from outside of crypto, so what's earned by the real world network, and doing their weekly buybacks, where what we see a lot of the time in crypto is it's the same money is cycled around, especially in DeFi projects. And there's lots of DeFi projects I really like, but a lot of times it's the same money flows around, where what they're doing is actually people are paying for real services, and that's helping to support the network. And what I find is I'm starting to like, there's lots of projects I'm starting to like and mightn't like the tokens as much, where I'm not really afraid of talking about projects because people always think, well, you're talking about the token, but there's some different DeFi projects that I'll talk about because I like them and I like the opportunities they're going to bring, but maybe the tokenomics mightn't just be something that I like as much. But then looking outside of crypto, so there's lots of people here will be just looking at crypto or just looking at Cardano and mightn't look outside as much. What do you look at kind of outside Cardano then? Because I know you look wider than just Cardano. You're a big fan of Cardano and what's going on, but outside of it, what do you look at?
I've got different things. I you know, there are a lot of projects out there that I'm sure are going to like number go up above Cardano. Okay. I want to make that abundantly clear. I hold some Solana. And you know, I am not so when I was doing my bot trading, I don't know how long it's been. It was back when like Solana was $20. My trading bot bought a whole bunch of it. Not a whole bunch. I bought 112 of them. Okay. So I've got 112 Solana. And, you know, I don't even remember exactly what happened. I needed to reset some settings or whatever. And I think I moved it to a different exchange. And I'm like, oh, I still have this Solana. And I think I had some random dust and a bunch of different random stuff. And I just decided to keep it. I'm like, whatever. Well, now, you know, it went from $20 to where it's at now. And my Solana's worth 20 grand. It's hard for me to argue that Solana is not a number go up asset. Okay. Regardless of the reasoning behind it. You know, if it's controlled by venture capitalists and they're pumping all this money into paid advertising and paid narratives, and, you know, it could be a whole bunch of like, you know, just crazy people that are just like trying to control its narrative and send everything else down. And for whatever reason, it still goes up. I don't think it's going to last the way a lot of people think it will, because I think that to me, Solana is like holding a hot potato. That is just right now. It's all of these meme tokens and these meme airdrop, meme. It's all this garbage that's ultimately driving Solana's price up. But the technology is proven to be very faulty, to say the least. But number go up, so I haven't sold it yet. Obviously, Ethereum, given all of its problems, Ethereum is still first to market introduction of smart contracts to the world. And so there's always going to be value there. And it really doesn't matter what the bottlenecking is like or the scalability or whatever. It just doesn't matter because people use Cardano. And there's been so many billions of dollars ultimately invested in the Cardano or the Ethereum ecosystem that it's just not going to, I mean, it's going to continue going and growing. And in time, you know, I feel like the more Ethereum becomes like Cardano, honestly, you know, as they continue to try and adopt a lot of the technologies, the studies, and the work done on Cardano, the more that Ethereum adopts some of that and makes those necessary changes to its blockchain, then Ethereum will probably continue to do even better. I have some DeFi kingdoms. I've got some Bonk as a total degen play. It hasn't been doing very well since I got it. I think I picked up some of that shit at the peak. I have a little bit of meld. Like I have like it looks like I've got like 5,100 meld. Not even a big deal at all. They're worth like practically nothing. I have a lot of land in different things. Like I have my sandbox land. I have land in another game. Oh my God, I can't remember the name of it now. I did buy some Cardano lands. Is that it? I can't remember what it was now. I think it's called Cardano lands.
I haven't got it. The name sounds familiar, but I don't know much about the project.
Yeah, I've got Kulo token that Ramel gave me. He like, hey, I got this. This is my project. I'll send you some tokens, and he did. And I literally watched them go from next to nothing to like $120,000. And it's like insane. And it's come back with the rest of the market, but it's still it came all the way down to like 30 something grand. It's already back up to almost 60. I think that's a pretty fair correction. So, I mean, I expect that to do well. Obviously, I have World Mobile token. So, you know, are there other projects out there that I think are going to do well? Yeah, I think Avalanche is probably going to do pretty well. I like Polygon. And there's a lot of really new stuff that's going to catch the eyes of newcomers, right? Because they're the ones that are really pumping the marketing dollar out there, buying exposure to people. And so, you know, are there going to be projects with quote unquote better tokenomics than some of its predecessors? Yeah, but you've got to be careful when it comes to a lot of this stuff, man, because I think if a project's really trying to sell you a dream, that dream is probably going to be something you wake up from before you realize it was just a dream. And that's what I try to tell people. I prefer fundamentals, development, milestones, the proper approach to things. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, I'm riding Cardano for as long as possible. Like I want to continue becoming more and more a part of the Cardano ecosystem and not just keep bouncing around to everything with a promise and a dream, because I've learned that the majority of those projects are garbage, and they prove to be as such within a certain period of time. and Cardano has reversed off of that. I did a video that's not even coming out until 3, but I said what was going to happen is probably going to happen, and it's happening right now as I'm watching my chart. So we're going back down. We're at 62,283 right now for those of you that are live and curious.
Damn, I hadn't looked at the chart since we started talking. It's yeah, the last hour or whatever is going on, we're getting a nice drop in the market. But okay, it's the bigger picture thing, really. If someone told you at the start of the year that you'd have a $62,000 Bitcoin in March, you'd have been like, yeah, you'd take it. You'd bite their hand off to take it. And even some of the prices, I know ADA hasn't run as much as we would have liked. But if you look at previous cycles, ADA generally runs on its own. It doesn't generally follow the rest of the market either. When other things move, ADA generally doesn't. And I think for me, I'm giving it time. It'll do okay. In the long term, that's why, kind of similar to you, I'm less risky in some of my portfolio now. I'm happy to hold for the longer term. And that's why the more cycles you go through, the happier you will be to have more of the solid projects. You will have some of your riskier plays in there, but you want to have solid projects that you look at long term. I still have a decent bag of Bitcoin there. And people say, oh, would you not sell it off into loads of different opportunities that are there? And it's like, no, I'm happy with where it is now. I know I will flip it into ADA and into other projects at different stages, but it's like, I'm not worried if they take off without me, because if I ended up being stuck with the bigger bags like that, I'm fine with that too. It's a longer picture. We're going 15 minutes now. I don't know. I'm just crossed 1,000 people between Twitter and YouTube. Thanks very much to everyone tuning in. Do appreciate it. I'm sure everybody is very familiar with Jason. If not, his channel is linked in the description. Give this one a like and sub too. But anything for the last few minutes that you'd like to cover that we haven't?
No, not really. I mean, I'm just kind of answering questions in a long-winded way for the entertainment and benefit of all of the people watching that like to hear an old guy talk. So, whatever comes up. I do talk a lot about the ETF inflows, outflows, what that means and things in my video that'll come out at 3:00 today. And I mean, for as long as we've been kind of going back and forth, I definitely wanted to, it's really, really difficult for me to schedule about anything. So, I tell everybody, I get, probably 3 or 4 requests a day. Like, can we schedule a call? Let's schedule a call. And I'm like, for one, I don't really schedule anything. It's best to hit me up and say, hey, are you free? And I either am or I'm not. I definitely wanted to make it a point to come on, say hi to your followers and talk to you. And I just love the accent, man. So I'm down to listen to your accent for an hour. And for whatever reason, I want to pint a Guinness, but I don't know why that is. That probably sounds terrible, but when I think of Irish, I think of Guinness for some reason. I'm not even sure if that's an Irish beer. Do you know? I don't know.
Yeah. That's the big thing most people will associate with Ireland, the Guinness. I'm trying to see here the backgrounds. Me and Paddy used to do our live streams, and you can see there's the Guinness in the background. So another Irish guy, we used to do weekly live streams. We need to get back to them actually. And the background had Guinness and all that in it for the Irish take. But yeah, it's been great to finally catch up on these and like that. Yeah, I just sent you the message earlier and it was like, do you want to do a live stream at some stage? It was like, yeah, I'll be on in 20 minutes or something. So it's like, it's good. And I definitely love to do them again to pick your brain. Another few weeks, we see where things sit then, and get to pick your brain again on Cardano, crypto, everything that's going on.
For sure, man. Anytime. Just hit me up. If I'm free, I'll be on with you. More than happy to. I like your channel. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel and you're just here because you saw my name pop up, I watch him too. So he might have started watching me back in the day, but if I want some updates real quick and I'm laying in bed and I'm like, what's going on? And I'll watch his channel and kind of figure out what's going on that afternoon. So very good resource. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit the like button for this video so the algorithm shares it with all of your friends so they could be educated as well. So yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. Absolutely.
Yeah, nice. I'm going to finish on this one just for 2 minutes. Hosky said here about, did we buy USDM? People looking at the chart might think it's the latest meme coin on Cardano. I talked about it a bit in the video I put out earlier today. Just be careful with USDM is the fiat-backed stablecoin that launched on Cardano over the weekend, but there was only 10,000 worth of the coin minted so far. There's more coming later on this evening. I listened to a space earlier with the team, and over the next week, we're going to get more liquidity into it. But if you're buying it right now on a DEX, then actually, I don't know what the price is now. The price is 5 ADA per USDM right now, and USDM should be $1. If you look at that, that means it's trading at about $3 right now. So when new liquidity comes into the market, people are able to mint that at $1 at the source. So once that opens up more, people will be minting at $1. They'll come straight onto a DEX and they'll be selling it off because they can make the profit. And that's how the peg will be reestablished, is when people are able to more easily mint USDM at source, then they'll be able to mint it there, come onto the market and dump it down as far as $1, because then, unlike algorithmic stable coins with a fiat-backed one, if it ever drops below $1, it means that people can buy it on the market for under $1 and then sell it at source. I know there's small fees, so maybe within a 1% range, but probably a good one to finish up on just to make people aware. Be careful if you're buying USDM thinking it's going to keep going up. It is a stable coin. It will stabilize, and trade safely out there. Jason, once again, thanks very much for your time. Really do appreciate it, and we'll definitely catch up soon. Everyone watching, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the conversation, and we'll talk soon.
Grow your coins, folks. See ya.
Grow your coins.